How about now?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. Go ahead and read, Calvin.
To produce the French dish foie gras, which means fatty liver, farm workers push pipes on male geese throats 3 times daily and pump as much as 2 kilograms of grains into the animal's stomach, causing their livers to fatten and swell up to 10 times their normal size. The pain involved in wait, the pain involved in force feeding causes trauma to the bird. Despite years of active campaign by animal rights activists, restaurants and governments have kept serving the dish. Recently, the Spanish invented a solution to solve the problem. Instead of force feeding, they now allow geese to stock up on extra food naturally as the birds prepare for the winter migration to Africa. They are then slaughtered once they have fattened up themselves for the expected long flight to Africa. Some argue that this is much better than forcing pipes down birds' throats. Others insist it is cruel to kill a bird for its liver. What do you think?
Mm. Okay, it's quite a story, isn't it? About a very fancy French dish that people think is a very fine food, and yet it involves some degree of animal cruelty. Have you ever been force-fed? Galvin, Dhruv, have you ever had force feeding happen to you?
No,
What is forced feeding?
like you forcefully feed something.
Yes, that's right. So it's pushed down your throat. Maybe when you were a baby, you might have been fed by somebody, right? And sometimes the mother or father doesn't know how much you want to eat, and then you cry because it's too much food in your mouth at one time. So that's about the only experience you've probably had of force feeding. So this is kind of a bit scary, what they used to do. And they decided not to do it. So I'm not sure if everywhere in the world is done the humane way, but the Spanish invented something, a better way to do it, which is to allow them to just eat lots and lots of food so that they're naturally fat. But it's not good for their liver, because that's why it means fat liver, because they've got too much fatty food in their bodies. So what do you think about this kind of food? Would you be willing to eat foie gras?
No, it sounds gross.
Sounds gross. Some people say it's delicious.
Wow, beer.
It doesn't sound very nice at all. Okay, so you wouldn't be willing to eat it. And animal rights activists think that it's pretty cruel. So what do animal rights activists complain about generally? Can you tell me what they do?
Launch campaigns.
Yes. To do what?
To stop it.
Yes, to stop cruelty to animals, exactly. So this is one extreme example of an animal being cruelly treated. What about some other animals that people eat? What would they complain about?
Monkeys.
Mm-hmm. But what do they complain about generally, Dhruv? What's the problem with how we treat animals? Any ideas what they complain about? Trauma. Okay, yes, trauma. There's a good word. So some examples, and I write them in the chat. Some examples of things that happen would be keeping them in crowded cages. Any other examples? What cruel things do people do to animals that we eat? For example, chickens. What do you know about chickens?
Slaughter them.
Slaughter them. Okay, so we kill them, which is bad enough, but how are they killed? You like this word pump, don't you, Galvin? Sure. Pump them up. Okay, so overfeed them. Overfeed them with rich food is an example of what people do. I'm writing in the chat. Well, that's a tremendous line, but it doesn't say much. I'll give you a chance to draw freely later on. Can you delete your drawings and writing for now? If you want to write in the chat, please write in the chat, not on the screen. Just for now. Foie gras. Okay, so some of the things they do is, for example, the animals, you get the cows or the chickens or pigs or whatever it is people are eating, and they actually know that they're going to be killed. They can see other animals being killed, and that makes them frightened. So that's a worrying thing for them. Yes. And this situation where they're being forced to eat, that's another example of animal cruelty. So this is something that maybe only happens to the goose. We don't know, but it's not very nice. So that's foie gras. So a lot of people refuse to eat foie gras for that reason. Okay, so for some people, animals are sacred, like the cow is sacred to many people in India. And this is one reason why it's upsetting that they are slaughtered in such a way that they are very scared before they die. So it seems terrible if you think the animal is sacred. But maybe we don't think about animals like chickens or sheep or anything like that suffering, but they definitely must suffer from how people treat them. So that's why we have animal activists. Okay, so what could you do to change things? Dhruv, what would you like to do to change things to make people kinder to animals? Complain to the government. That's Galvin's idea. Dhruv, what would you do?
Something similar.
Complain to the government. Okay, all right. Some people complain to the government. Some people complain to restaurants, for example. And some people complain to farmers, and other companies that produce meat. So these are some of the things you can do. So raising awareness is an important thing. And if you see the image of the foie gras, Galvin, did you find it? I know you like to Google things. Did you find an image of foie gras? Yes, you can. Let me find you an image of foie gras. See if I can find a suitable one. Why is it so controversial? Maybe this one is good. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm using the tablet and the laptop, so sometimes you have to tell me if you can't see very well. Okay. Yeah, so people complain about shark's fin as well. Why is shark's fin cruel? Any idea?
They cut off the fin of the shark.
That's right, while it's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they throw it back in the sea to bleed to death. So it's pretty disgusting. Yeah. Okay, so right, that's enough of that subject. I'm vegetarian, so I've had enough of this subject. Okay. Right, let's have a look at the composition for today. Come on. Okay, so our composition today is a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise. What does that mean? A blessing in disguise. Any idea? What would that be? A blessing. What's a blessing to begin with?
A blessing in disguise, it might mean like it doesn't look like a blessing, but it's actually a blessing.
Very good. Very good. So for example, you break your leg and you think this is terrible, or this is the worst thing that happened to you, but it means that you don't have to do something you didn't want to do. So it was a blessing in disguise, not a very nice blessing, but at the same time, it stopped you from going somewhere you didn't want to go.